welcome to the Mill. I have an incredibly special guest joining me today, my husband, Alex Bellman. He is the COO at Bellman Jewelers. Yes, we live together. No, we are not recording in the same home, so we don't have any audio issues. But Alex, thank you so much.
So excited to be on your podcast my first time.
For our viewers, if you're new, I used to record the Mill & Co podcast out of Bellman Jewelers. If you don't know about them, they're on Elm Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. Incredible, incredible vendor, jewelry store, people, amazing, quality, trustworthy, all the things. We met because I was a customer. So that should tell you something about my judgment, which is great. But what people don't know about Bellman Jewelers is that they also have a beautiful state-of-the-art recording studio in their building, which is incredible. So they can do commercials, content, podcasts, shows, anything. So if you are always itching to record a podcast and you are somewhere within the New Hampshire area, you should definitely contact Alex. That's my shameless plug for you as your wife.
Appreciate that.
So I asked Alex to come on today because he's done something really incredible on a relatively new social platform, which we all know now very well as TikTok. So Alex, you've been at Bellman Jewelers for what, over 12 years now? A lifetime.
Yeah.
Can you talk everyone through creating and launching your TikTok account, which is called The Truthful Jeweler, and some of the strategies that you've implemented that have contributed to your current following of 40,000 people and well over millions of views and clicks and engagements?
Yeah, no, we started in 2020. So when COVID shut everything down, a lot of jeweler stores went home. We were able to continue operating because we bought gold. So they considered us a bank. But it was basically just me sitting here at the store. A lot of my employees went home out of fear, which was okay.
Yeah.
And so they stayed home for a little while. And since the store was so slow, I started making TikTok videos and talking about kind of the ins and outs of the jewelry industry, like stuff that people wanted to know that they could find on YouTube, but it was really long and drawn out. And then even then, a lot of times when jewelers are teaching about jewelry, diamonds, things like that, they're kind of leaving things out. That way they can teach you what they want you to know so they can maximize their profit. Where I'm giving you everything so that you can make the most informed decision, and we're showing you how we can keep our prices really low. So it ended up being very successful right away. People are super interested. Now the TikTok algorithm has shifted. If you're not being very, very aggressive or being very funny in your videos, they aren't going to do as well. The educational stuff has slowed down a little bit, but our videos still do extremely well. We still gain followers all the time. And then we always find like a new niche to talk about. And then that video will do really well and we'll gain another 3,000 or 4,000 followers. So it's not impossible to continue growing on TikTok, but they do prefer the drama and kind of excitement over the kind of educational stuff, but it's still going really, really well. I just got a client today from California. He's a TikToker. He has 600,000 followers. And he found me just because I'm honest. And he was like, I went through all your videos. You're crazy honest. And everywhere I went, nobody was like you. And so that's what we hear all the time. And that's what continues to help grow the TikTok.
So you started it during a global pandemic when people are like, what am I doing with my life? Am I going to live to see another day? And your strategy at the time, and still is to this day, was honesty and education, because I have tons of friends and tons of people that have been through this process where if you're just, a Joe Schmo off the street, like you don't know anything about diamond color, quality, cut, clarity, like we don't know those things. I didn't know those terms before you and I met, but then you're purchasing something that is, for many people, one of the most expensive expenses of their lifetime up to that point, for something that is going to mean a lifetime commitment. Like it is a really important thing. And I want you to talk a little bit about how you structure the strategy of your content to focus more on truthful transparency and education versus what maybe some of your competitors are doing.
I'll give you a great example. Some of our competitors will just put out pricing and color and clarities like they don't mean anything and they don't really put any education behind it. Or they'll say things like certain diamonds have a cut grade, which we won't get into it, but some of them don't. And there's lies in everything that they're telling. And so they only tell what's necessary. And I think the best example is There is a store that we compete very heavily with for views and also for business on TikTok. And when that store's clients reach out, we end up saving them about 70%. So they listed a stone the other day for 15,000 at a very low color. We're able to supply the client with a very high color stone for 5,500. And so that is where we're at on honesty. It's not just what you're buying, but it's also the price. We're kind of honest on both fronts, and we survive on volume, which is not the traditional jewelry store model. A lot of people do think it's the traditional jewelry store model because a lot of jewelry stores call themselves wholesalers,
Mm.
and that's just not true. They are not doing that, and especially the ones that call themselves that have the highest margins. So it's a really interesting industry where, because truth has been so pushed down, and it's from the top, all the way from where the diamonds come from, all the way down to the jeweler, everybody's getting lied to. It's fun to like shed light on what's really going on in the industry so people can feel more comfortable buying jewelry, and whether they buy it from us or not, they get it at a fair price.
Yeah, but then they also feel an appreciation for you because you were honest with them, that whenever they want to go through this process again, they've like almost immediately become a customer for life because you will never trust again. You get hurt one time and we're like, nope. But you have one person that's really supportive and honest. And I think that I know that really contributed to your pretty rapid growth. And I think for those watching, part of Alex's strategy was really leaning into what he knew and what he did very well, which was being honest, transparent, and providing education around a very unknown and confusing market for people. That strategy on TikTok really helped him grow. And now he's leaning into expanding, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But from a business growth perspective, Alex, can you shed some light and insights on the impact that TikTok has had on your business?
Yeah, I mean, at the time that I started TikTok, we had three other salespeople, and we had two people out back. So in total, at that point, we had grown to seven. Because of TikTok, we're pushing on to 16 employees now, between a sole marketing person. We have a shipping department. I had to hire a coordinator to help just me with the volume of all the customers. And we've had to hire more and more salespeople to help cover these sales coming through on the phone and in the store, because we're near a lot of major cities. People drive in. So the follower count doesn't seem high. I think we're nearing 50,000. Which is pretty low for TikTok, to be honest. If you see a social media influencer, they might have 200,000 to a couple million. Many of them cannot make money with those followers. They can sell a t-shirt, they can do something, but a lot of those guys are not monetizing their followers. We're able to monetize all of our followers because they're following us because they're excited, they want to see rings, and they hopefully in the future want to buy from us. So even though the followers don't seem high, you don't need a lot to generate a ton of business. And our business has exploded, and we continue to grow, and hear that stores right now are stagnant, they're hurting. We're one of the few stores that's still growing at a huge pace and still hiring because we have this social arm and the volume, right? So what I like about what we do really is that there are TikTokers that you reach out to, jewelers, just jewelers in general, who they treat it as it's your gift to work with them. We treat it the opposite way. It's our gift that you chose to work with us. And so instead of just price gouging you because you found us on TikTok, we end up making sure that we try to save you as much money as possible while giving you the best possible experience. And I think that's what's going to help us grow for years, and why these other stores are going to lay stagnant and kind of start hurting.
The other benefit that you have, just based on your location, is in the state of New Hampshire, no sales tax. And so
Mm-hmm.
as a part of your strategy and your content, you're reaching people in LA with your content that you may not otherwise reach. So even for another local competitor, you are dominating them because you're not just competing with them for people in New Hampshire, but your reach is so much broader. And I know you
Right.
had shared with me, you had someone reach out from TikTok. You never spoke with this person on the phone. And next thing you know, they bought an engagement ring from you, essentially sight unseen, through TikTok.
Yeah,
So,
we sell through text.
yeah.
But some of the states do have to pay sales tax.
Mm.
But we don't have sales tax in New Hampshire if they pick it up here.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. I like to pick my jewelry up from Bellman Jewelers in person. So, so I think the point of the strategy there, though, is a couple things that we've talked about so far. Have clear strategy on the type of content you're going to post, whether it's going to be entertaining, informative, educational, transparent, or some level of the combination of a few of those. And then just test. I mean, I've witnessed you shooting content everywhere you go, whether you're shooting what you're doing and then you're doing kind of a day in the life. Here's what I did. I visited this customer in Detroit, or you're shooting educational content, or you're highlighting a process of helping a customer purchase a ring by sharing here's a 3D mold that you can actually hold and try on, and for sizing and shape and scale. So you do a lot within that broader strategy of, we are truthful, we're honest, we're transparent, we're going to educate you and inform you. You then get to make that decision. And then within that, you've got kind of subcategories of content that you create that all really ladder up to that kind of mission statement of your brand.
Yeah. So we test all kinds of different models, different posts, different things. And honestly, we're just going to keep doing that. It's almost not even testing anymore. Now it's just like we just want to put up different kinds of content so we don't bore people to death. But we also see what doesn't work. There was a time where we did kind of go directly at another jewelry store, and we immediately took it down. It was actually way outperforming all of the posts we've ever posted. And we just decided that that's not our mission. Our mission is honesty and truth. And you can do that without being mean or aggressive. If those consumers who work with that store don't do their due diligence and they want to pay that high price, that is for them. But if they do their due diligence and they find us, we're there for them. And so it is interesting how you can make mistakes, come back from it, and be like, listen, that's just not the kind of store that we want to be. That's not the kind of content we want to put out. Mm-hmm. We will put out educational content. I saw a diamond posted for X, and this is our price on it, but we're not going to tag those stores. We're not going to duet their videos. And so, yeah, it's interesting. So you go from the good and the bad when you're testing.
And what you're describing, which I think is really important for people watching, is, yeah, you've got your overall mission and your overall strategy. Then you've got various types of content that you can create that we often call content pillars that live up to that strategy. But then the other thing that is a non-negotiable that should be woven in from strategy to different content buckets to the content that you're pushing out are, what are your brand values? And if your brand values are, we are not going to be this like hyper competitive, rude, put people down, smear campaign type of content brand, because the clients that come to us because they value the education, the honesty, the transparency, not because they're like, ooh, burn, So right. That's really what you're describing. And it's so critical for brands, I think, when you're producing a ton of content just to have the cadence that you want. It happens all too frequently that you lose sight of your mission, your ethics, your morals, what your brand really truly values.
Yeah, people do anything for views, anything for money. And so we've chosen that we're not going to do that. Yeah. And our clients see that. They see that we are not out kind of going after people. They see that we're out being as honest as possible. Like, we're hiding nothing. And so that's just how it works for us. Now, in other industries, I think other people really should start getting in front of the camera. People also need to remember that they can record videos in voiceover. So if they're scared to be in front of the camera, they don't have to be. Like, I didn't want to be in front of the camera. But once you see how amazing the response is when you're teaching someone something, whether it's how to bake a cookie or how to clean a car the right way, you think you're giving away like a trade secret. You're like, this is how you pick out a diamond. You're like, well, what if I tell them this and then they use this to go to other stores? Or I teach them how to clean their car and they start cleaning their car at home. Some will, but others will be like, wow, you were so educational. And also I saw how you clean that and I don't have the energy to figure out how to clean my car like that. Let me hire you. And the same with the diamond education. Like, that was so great of you, but also I'm not going to absorb all that. So I'd rather just shop with you, know I'm getting a great price and a good education, rather than take your education and use it elsewhere. So I do think that from a small business owner perspective, you're always afraid to give away your trade secrets or to give away something you would teach them in person, because then you're like, well, then they're not coming in. It's okay. They'll come in, and in droves, because they'll feel like, wow, I've never heard that information before.
You've actually taught that to me, because Mill & Co. has our blueprint strategy, and it's something I created and have been honing and refining for 5.5 years that we've been in business, almost 6 years now. And I protected that so hard. And now I'm giving presentations, walking people through every single step of this process. I'm giving away the Discovery and Insights questionnaire that I crafted with questions that I painstakingly put together that I feel get me the right answers to define a brand. And I now give that away. And it has really increased our pipeline of blueprint clients because I think A, they're like, wow, all right, clearly this person knows what they're talking about. But B, they're like, wow, that's a lot of work, or that's a lot of knowledge, or that's a lot of skill that I don't have, nor do I have the time to figure it out on my own.
Right.
Um, so I think that is a really big hurdle, particularly for small businesses when it's like, it's my baby, like you don't get to have it. I want to shift gears quickly and talk about TikTok as a platform. Are there recent changes that you've experienced that have had an impact on you, your account, and your goals, either positive or negative, in terms of like just overall user engagement?
I do think it's a lot harder to go viral, like we were talking about, unless you're being aggressive,
Mm.
overly funny, like where you're like, sort of either making fun of people or again adding some level of drama to it. It can still be hilarious, but like it it seems they're really pushing more towards the entertainment part of content instead of the educational side. So it was before that the educational videos would do really, really well. And now, unless you're like directly attacking someone, making your thing as funny as possible, or posting every second of the day, you do get punished a little bit. And so, like I've seen some of the people that I follow that I interact with a lot, I've seen them trying to grow their followers, and like some of them are taking it to an extreme of they are live for 6 hours a day. Because the more live you go on TikTok, the faster you'll get views. Like TikTok will be like, oh, they're going live. They're spending time on our app, benefit them, and they'll push out your videos more. So it does suck a little bit that you really have to invest a lot of extra time in it. You can't just like make a video and post it. That one will work, but then the next 10 won't. You have to go live. You have to post 2 or 3 times a day. You can't just, go stagnant. Which is fair with the posting, but the going live stuff's a little tough. But listen, if you want to grow, it's the way to go. You have to do it. And so going live is really easy though. Like I was trying to pitch to our friend who owns a chocolate company. You can go live and just pick orders all day. Just put a camera on someone's chest and they just say, "Oh, I'm picking order, blah blah blah." And for 2 or 3 hours they do that. And the views will shoot through the roof. It's amazing how effective going live is. But yeah, that's what's happening. So if you don't go live, you're really not going to get the views you want. And if you're not posting 2 to 5 times a day, until you've got a couple million followers, you're not going to get the views you want.
Yeah. So what about people who don't have time for that but want to
Oh,
be
they
active?
better hire Mill and Co.
Shameless plug. We're married, so he has to say that. Um, yeah, and I think one of the things that we've seen with TikTok is there are a lot of elements to the app. So there's live, there's stitch, there's duet, there's green screen. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other things. There's text that you can add, there's music that you can add, then there's layers within that, there's imagery that you can put in there. There's a lot of creative ways to utilize the tools that the app provides in terms of editing and production and launch of content. And so what we're seeing is that the app is rewarding users that are leaning into using the app in its entirety. So if you are starting out, again, strategy, overall strategy, what's your foundation? That can't change. Content strategy. All right, what are some themes and pillars that live up into that overall strategy? And then you can sublayer in, all right, if we're going to look at TikTok as a whole, within these content pillars that I have, what are some topics for each of these that would make sense for me to go live on? What are some things that maybe some other influencers or accounts that I can stitch or duet with that accomplish me communicating this content pillar? So in my professional opinion, it's less about I'm just going to shoot a bunch of content and throw it all out there. It really is create a strategic map of what you want to talk about and how you plan to disperse it. Write it down. Do it for 2 to 3 months and then reflect and say like, all right, did that work? Which of these content pillars worked the best? Which of these lives worked the best? And really set it up like a science experiment. What worked for me? What didn't? What can I lean into? And then know and trust that this is an app that is driven and pushes content based on consumer behavior. So the best thing you can do is stay true to your brand, stay true to your values, and be consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 100% true.
So to finish off, thank you so much for your insight on TikTok. We all hope to be as successful on TikTok as Alex is. On a personal note, so your dad started Bellman Jewelers over 40 years ago, selling gold chains door to door, and you've taken over and been running the show for over a decade now. You've built structures, you've built efficiency, you've built process, and you've implemented policy to bring the store to where it is today, which is incredible. And going from essentially 5 employees to 16 in 3 years. So, for everyone who didn't hear those numbers earlier, that's what those are. What did rebuilding the business mean to you? And shifting it into more of a digital social space? And how has that impacted your view on what it means to be an entrepreneur?
Building back the store was kind of a personal, obviously, it's a family business, so you want to take it over and be successful. So that's part of it. I knew from being a young kid that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that this was the path for me of being a business owner. I just didn't know where it was. I didn't know if I was going to go do sales for someone or if I was going to start my own business. I did start some little businesses on the side. And I found that you can't give yourself at the place the store was at the time. You can't give part of yourself and still grow it as much as I wanted to. The further along we get, you can definitely take on more projects, the more people you have to help. But at the beginning, it was all just about growing the store and making it more successful, mostly just to put ourselves in a really great spot. Like we were just one of those small stores that, people are like, oh, go to Bellman's. They're just that nice little family jeweler down the street. And I kind of wanted to turn Bellman's into a name that meant that's the store to go to. And, whether it's locally, nationally, and I want to do that without building more stores. I don't want to like be that guy that opens like the Chipotle of jewelry stores. I want to build like a really beautiful store that creates a great experience. And what we got lucky with, and what I got really lucky with, because growth is about luck, is TikTok came out and allowed me to push my model. Volume was not a traditional model. We shifted to it while when I joined the store. I shifted the model to volume and slowly, like I would slowly lower the prices, and then I just took it to a really aggressive place, and that's where we started to see growth the quickest. And we were growing, but TikTok, man, it was like adding fuel to a fire because now I can tell everybody and I can tell them for free. And as a small business who had no marketing budget, basically, that's what was so important. So part of it's luck. We had technology. Then 3D printing comes out. So now I can start making 3D designs for clients and sending them 3D prints to try on when they don't live near me. And then lab growns come out. And then it gives me this really great place to prove my volume model. Because in naturals, I might be $5,000 cheaper, but in lab grown, I'm 70% cheaper. And so it's a really amazing thing where technology came with me. Like I needed technology to happen where there was now customer management systems that I could buy to help manage all the influx of customers. So without all that stuff, we would not have grown without technology, whether it's internal or TikTok. But yeah, we just, between hard work and wanting to grow the store and then getting lucky with the way the world has developed and people being very free and wanting to purchase online and just willing to work with you because we offer them so much, the free CADs, the free 3D prints, the videos of all the diamonds in person and like kind of like staged videos. They really get to see it without being here, and you get 60% of the experience of coming in. And yeah, it meant a lot to me to do that. And it still means a lot to me now. Like today, now that we're doing better, there's still so much growth. There's still so much more I want to do. I would love to have an entire sales force dedicated to just taking the TikTok calls, let alone having to force it on my staff and myself who are also taking in-person engagement ring sales. And so even though we've been a little bit successful, there's still so much more to do. And I just take a lot of pride in it because my name's on the building. And, I think when you're younger, you don't look at it that way. And as you get older, you take a lot of pride in, I grew this just like my dad took pride in growing it to where he got it to from literally door to door. And that's what the next generation is supposed to do. They're supposed to push the limits and see if they can grow it. And I did that in my own way, even if it scared the people who worked here with what
Yeah.
we were doing.
You mentioned you got lucky, and I'll be honest, I don't believe in luck. I believe in fortune, and fortune favors the bold. So you didn't need to get on TikTok in 2020. You chose to, and that's not luck, that's fortune in action. I think what's really important for anyone listening and watching If you are an entrepreneur, regardless of the stage of business you're in, you're a business owner or you're in a key decision-making position, what Alex has done really well is he's constantly evaluating, gathering insights, and then deciding to take action, whether he does or doesn't. So it's this constant evolution cycle that he's going through where he is looking at things. How can I make them better, faster, more efficient? How can I support my team? How can I support more volume while still keeping our general overhead cost low so that we can continue to grow from a volume perspective? So I think a lot of companies get scared and act more reactively because of things that are happening or they're moving. And it is scary to grow. It's a pain in the ass to hire, to fire, to train. Like it's a lot. But if you are fearful of going through that process, you're not going to get to experience it in the way that Alex has. Truthfully, you have to be proactive, not only in the steps that you're taking with yourself and your team, but looking at your business as a whole and saying, all right, what am I seeing? What are trends that are happening? What's happening in lab grown versus natural diamonds? How can my company better support the changes that are happening in this industry through things like social media, email marketing, you know, nurturing your existing relationships with clients that have already bought from you?
Yeah. No, we're constantly adapting, and I think a lot of businesses don't do that.
Yeah.
Um, and that's okay. That's going to make us more successful. But yeah, I mean, right now we're adopting new technology every day, from new point of sales to how we intake diamonds. And I know that a lot of stores aren't, because they're fearful, or that, well, it changes the status quo where it's, yeah, you have to retrain all your staff. All my staff have iPad Pros to do custom work and to do all this stuff. And it's a huge shift. It's an expense. But if you're growing and then you don't do those things, you're just going to get left behind.
Right.
So yeah, it's been really amazing to kind of implement those things and see how they work and how successful they are with helping us manage what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So just to close, what advice would you offer to people looking to start their own business in 2023 and 2024? Um, and how would you recommend that they use social media to their advantage now that you have time to reflect on your own experience with it?
I mean, I would go straight to social media. I wouldn't even bother with other forms of marketing. I mean, we literally just lowered our budget for our mailers because we're not sure that we saw the response that we
Mm,
expected from our Christmas mailers, which are very expensive and one of the few mailers we even do.
yeah.
Um, and so I'm starting to see that there is very little value going forward in some of these more traditional marketing avenues. TV is dying. You Radio is dying.
Yeah.
The new Moving forward, the content that you want to create is like, find a podcast that you want to partner with, see if they'll partner with you for a sales partnership versus you having to pay them, especially a smaller podcast. Use TikTok, use Instagram. Don't even bother being like, well, I need to print business cards. No, you don't. You can take a screenshot of the QR code that goes with your TikTok, and that's your new business card. And then that is a link tree that links to your website, your email, everything. Um, the world is shifting, and it's the easiest it's ever been to launch a business. I mean, you can literally sit on live on TikTok all day. Like, let's say you don't have any sales yet, you're just trying to start a candle company. If you just sit on live all day and make video and literally just make candles in front of people, your sales will go through the roof. And now TikTok has added a store function onto itself. And now you can then immediately list your product for sale. So they watch your live. Oh my God, that person's so nice. They were joking around about their candles. It's a spooky candle. I want the spooky candle. And they can click and buy it right there through TikTok. So
Yeah.
it's the best time in the world that there's ever been to start a business.
Yeah. And I think, some of the layers I put in with our clients are, is TikTok right for you?
Mm-hmm.
Because for some clients, it's not. And I think those are the instances where the guidance I give on TikTok is don't be on it if it's not relevant to your audience that you've identified through data, not just who you think your audience is. Where's your current social traffic coming from? Are most of your clients coming from LinkedIn through your contact form? That's something to consider. Do you have a little bit of a younger demographic or people that are maybe a little harder to reach, or you have a product that's really visually appealing and interesting? Now you can think about different platforms as they pertain to your audience segment. So I totally agree with you. The world is completely changing. People want transparency. They want to feel connected. They want to feel that you're being authentic and real with them. Because if you're going to become a part of their life, then you need to fit in with what their life already is.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
No, I would say the one thing I don't want people to be fearful of when using TikTok is I get clients from 21 years old to 65 years old. There is no demo that isn't on TikTok. And, I was just talking to someone, I won't mention their business because we talked about how he likes to keep it private. But, his TikTok is very successful. And what he is looking for is investors. That's what he finds through his TikTok. And he's finding investors through TikTok. So there's
Mm,
also no income um, gap. It's if you have a good product or you have a great service and you can create interesting content around it, you will find people through TikTok and through Instagram.
yeah. Facebook to me is dead,
Hmm.
largely dead.
Dead.
Um, Yeah, yeah, if I look at our client base right now, the 3 platforms we push the most are Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Just in
Hmm.
terms of social platforms, of course, there's email and sites and optimizations and SEO and SEM, but social media is really just those 3 for now. So, it'll continue to evolve, and maybe next year we'll have you back on the podcast and we'll talk about what you learned in 2024 on TikTok, and it'll be great.
Great. Hopefully, I'll have 500,000 followers.
Yeah, perfect. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Alex, thank you so much. Can't wait to see you at home later. Appreciate you coming on and sharing all your knowledge. If you are not familiar with Bellman Jewelers or the Truthful Jeweler, you can find them online, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on TikTok, all the important ones. Please reach out to Alex if you have any questions. Reach out to us as always, and we will see you next time.